Every day that goes by, just when I think I can't get any more, radical than I already am, you just see what's going on and you're like, how do we allow this? Like, it's frankly embarrassing how little we've done about so many things we know to be wrong and to have been wrong for so long.
Bad news. You cannot make people treat you well. Good news. You can make them wish they had.
Tell me a song that came out when you were younger that you had no business listening to.
The national anthem.
Little white boys who are permitted to run wild in a Kroger's. For their parents to say something like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," to everyone who goes by, but does not reprimand them. Little white children who, with their cute little cherubic faces, go running down the street, knocking over everyone who they encounter. For their parents to haggardly run behind them. Oh, excuse him. Oh, he's just so exuberant. These children grow up believing that the world belongs to them. And why wouldn't they? Who's told them otherwise? Certainly not their parents. Certainly not society. Certainly not the judge when they get brought in as a teenage sex offender and the judge says, "Boys will be boys," and lets them off with a slap on the wrist. And then they go to the fraternity, where a bunch of these same children, becoming adults, well, they egg each other on. And sure, some of them will learn to see better and do better, and they'll fall by the wayside. Sure. But the worst of them will meet the worst of them in a world that has taught them that the world belongs to them. And what will they do? And we will focus on, as we should, the interpersonal crimes they will commit. The ways that they are bad lovers, bad friends, bad citizens. Sure. But the harm that they will go on to do, the harm that they will cause, on what could be, depending on the level of power, money, and access, could be on a global scale, because they've never been told no. Because they've never been pushed back against in any meaningful way. Because they've never been taught that the rest of the world is not merely a playground. The rest of us are not NPCs in a game where they are the main character, where they are the default setting. I saw today a comic, and it had 5 scoops of ice cream flavor. The first one was vanilla, and the vanilla is asking the other 4 flavors and says, "Oh, what a great variety of cones. Let's see, you're chocolate, you're strawberry, I think you're pistachio, and you're Rocky Road. Lovely." And then the other ones go, "You got it that perfectly right. What flavor are you?" And the vanilla cone replies, "Oh, well, I'm just ice cream." And that's how they think of themselves. That's how, before you let yourself turn this into just Brock Turner, who I'm definitely talking about as a prime example of the worst, or not even the worst, but one of the worst. Before you think I'm just talking about him, I'm also talking about you, probably, if you are a white person. Because the world has been made the plaything for you in some way. Let me amend that. In 2 many ways. Grievous ways, horrific ways. I was talking earlier with someone very important, and during the conversation, I had the realization that a lot of the discourse around children not being able to wear masks, they simply can't do it. They simply won't be able to do it. Well, is that true? Or is it just that we've done too much teaching them that they can do whatever they want, and not in the way that we expect or desire for children, right? Not being free to explore who they are as a person, to explore the world around them, to learn more about difference, to learn more about the living, thriving, wonderful, beautiful planet they live on. Not that kind of freedom. But the freedom to do whatever they want and have excuses made for them. Right? That's what has been excused, passed off as letting children be children in certain sectors. And there's discourse around this, lots of discourse. I'm sure you've heard Black people say things like, oh, I could not get away with that with my parents. I'm sure you've heard most people of color say things like that, right? But who, as adults, by and large, I'll say greater than by and large, overwhelmingly, who are better stewards of the planet and of the other humans on it? Right? One might say, and there are some ways where this is true, but it's an in-group discussion. Some might say that the ways that people of color parent their children is too restrictive. Okay, I can see that in some ways. But boundaries, discipline, respect, those aren't egregious hindrances on a person's free will. In fact, they should be the basic cost of being a human around other humans. We are a social species after all. And establishing the hierarchy of whiteness, maleness, etc. begins that early. Begins with these innocuous seeming things. Because that trickles down. And then you have CEOs born into money and privilege who have also been taught to subtly or in ways that are more overt step on anyone they encounter. And why wouldn't they? And why wouldn't they? They've always been able to. And if you call them out, they will then make it a question of their personhood, their freedom being impinged upon by you. Being called out hits them in a really, really primal place. Because it's probably been since they were children, and barely even then, that someone told them, no, you cannot do that way. And they were expected to have to listen. Can you imagine a life where you were never given any boundaries or restrictions, where none were imposed upon you? Women have these boundaries and restrictions imposed upon them all the time. Women and femmes are told to adjust their behavior, their dress, etc. Why? It's not the bears that are attacking. It's because the men, the cismen, the cishet white men, they simply cannot control themselves. Why can't they control themselves? Why haven't they been taught to? I'm going to relate this to something else. Colonization and gentrification, which are the same thing, essentially. right? You have a group of people who you've taught them that they're special. And you teach them they're special by essentially you don't even have to tell them that they're special so much as that everyone else is in some way lesser. Everyone else has qualifiers. Sometimes those qualifiers are things like savage, less intelligent, the weaker sex. Then you tell those people, here's how you can get ahead, how you can gain recognition. You go over there. And whatever you find there, you can just take it. You'll have to take it by force because there are some evil people there who don't understand our way of life. You got to just go take it. But once you take it, we'll back you up because it's yours once you take it by rights. And if someone appears to be living there, don't worry about that. Just run and knock them over, take what you want, have the experience that you want. And your parent will come along behind you and apologize weekly. Because in those apologies, usually there is a little bit of a dare, isn't there? I dare you to say something about my kid. I dare you to stand in the way of my child expressing themselves. I'm parenting them, and I'm parenting them by not parenting them. I'm parenting them by letting them see that the world is their oyster. That they can take our religion and go bring our religion to a group of people who don't want it. Because those people don't know any better. They don't know. They need us to bring it to them. Right? And yes, sometimes he may go a little bit overboard. Yes, there was the one time he knocked over the entire ball collection at Walmart and the balls rolled all over the entire store and people had to spend an hour finding them and cleaning them all up and putting the cage back together and putting the balls back in the cage, the ones they could find. Sure. But boys will be boys. There's always someone to clean that up. There's always someone to do the job of cleaning up after one of the special ones. Well, not the special ones, the regular ones. They're not special. They never even have to think about who they are, their identity markers. They don't have to think about that. That's for other people. They just have to do whatever they want in this world. And we teach them that if you're going to be a go-getter, you got to just go and get her. Whoever her is. Whether or not she wants to be gotten by you. We put it in our holy books. We put it in our movies. It's coming out of the walls practically. Yeah. And then, in the case of gentrification, which again, same thing as colonization, well, they don't go in with guns like colonizers do. They don't do that. What they do is they go in and the local customs are different than they're used to. Maybe people are louder, more boisterous. Maybe they spend more time sitting outside in the sun. Maybe they spend more time finding community sitting out on their stoop or their porch because, well, it is a city and there aren't really porches or backyards or green spaces. And by the way, y'all made it so that we literally couldn't get to the beaches. Did you know that? Did you know that racist land developers made underpasses to bridges lower on purpose so that city buses and public transportation could not reach them? And yes, they said it was more, it wasn't a race thing, right? Just want to make sure the right people who can afford a car, everyone can afford a car, right? Well, as you always know, if you're talking about poor, you're certainly talking about a lot of white people too, more than not. But you're always talking about people of color. Right? But anyway, the local custom's a little different. It's a little later than you would like it to be, and there are still people outside making noise, having a good time. Maybe they've got a barbecue set up in a place they're not supposed to be barbecuing. It's against the rules. It's against laws. Who wrote those laws? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But the guns do come eventually. They don't have them. The gentrifiers don't have them. But someone has them. Someone who is just a call away. And the number's very easy to remember. There's only 3 numbers. Anyone can remember it. And then they call it. And then someone comes along behind them, essentially saying, oh, we're very sorry, but these people are here now. And they've complained. And they've got to live their lives. And they're the main characters. We serve the main characters. Let me ask you something, people of color, femmes, women, queer people, indigenous people. When's the last time you heard boys will be boys, or the equivalent to your behavior? Right? Always, it's been said about something done to you, not something done by you, right? Someone gets to use your body, your neighborhood, your culture as a plaything, and then are excused, right? Right? And don't think I'm letting you off the hook, because you let them do it. Every time you believe your family member is worth more, is more redeemable than someone who acts better, lives their life better, but doesn't look like you, doesn't share your same memories, doesn't share your cultural values. It's easier to look aside when worse things happen to them because of those people who you don't even like. You know how awful they are. You have to deal with them. You're used to rolling your eyes. Or maybe even worse, you've internalized it. And you think that's the way the world is, and how it always will be. And maybe even you think it's how it should be. Good job, Aunt Lydia. You're the reason we are marching in towards the end days for our planet's ability to live on this, our species' ability to live on this planet. Because someone never told our president or the richest person in the world, formerly the frenemy in chief. No one ever told them, hey, the world doesn't belong to you. It's not for you to play with. And at this point, they're daring someone to stop them. That's where we are right now. These obstreperous children, these wayward, misbegotten excuses for poorly socialized animals, they're in charge. They're daring us. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to do whatever I want to do. If you call me out on it, I'm going to probably throw a tantrum. Except my tantrums have guns behind them now. Call it the imperial boomerang. Call it cause and effect. Call it, as Ani DeFranco said, the simple rule of one thing leads to another. Now we're getting it all. Because y'all have never been told no. And that someone telling you about yourself is not an attack on you. It's literally a member of your species, of your community, of your world. I'm trying to tell you what your actions are causing. I'm trying to tell you what is happening because of you. And unfortunately, too many would rather just shrug and say, boys will be boys. I am what I am. Yeah. That's the world we live in. And unfortunately, people who grow up like that, they do not stop until you stop them. And that's all I can say about that. And now, for our next segment.
When you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Listen to it again.
Hello, darlings, and welcome back to the Focused on Infinity Hour, more or less. I am your hostex, Logan Grendel, and here we are with our Season 2, Episode 2. We're going to be bringing you some new things, some old things. We've got our very favorite musical guest, Square Symbols, back again, and a little surprise from them as well. As you may or may not know, they have a documentary that is out and that you should absolutely check out. And we're going to be sharing with you the trailer for that right here on our show. Of course, we're going to have Alice doing our astrological weather report. And of course, our wise and wonderful worm. And of course, myself and Mistrix making the whole thing run. So sit back. Relax that's probably a tall ask these days, so I'm not going to ask you to relax, but enjoy. And remember to like and share the stream and tell people about it. All the things, right? Because the show only will continue to work if you help us make it continue to work. This is a people-powered effort, and you're the people. So with your help, we will continue doing it and doing it more and better, as we always do. But for now, let's get right into it.
Folks, that eclipse portal is sliding closed this week with our second of two eclipses coming up this Thursday, which also happens to be my birthday, so a little rude of the cosmos to schedule an eclipse on that particular day, but here we are. And that's the event really dominating this week, astrologically speaking. Today, Monday, August 24th, has been a pretty quiet day in the skies. Early tomorrow morning, Tuesday, August 25th, the moon enters liberatory, revolutionary Aquarius, our favorite weirdo and queerdo of the zodiac. And then Mercury enters Virgo, following the sun, which made the same move just a few days before. And Mercury is the planet that rules Virgo, so it's happy and powerful in its home sign, in its element here. So over the next couple weeks or so, hopefully our perception and thinking and communication will be a little more organized, a little more thorough and methodical. This is a great time for detail work, for analyzing and critiquing, for revising or editing any writing projects you have going on, for example. This can be a good time to plan and prep, to work on your everyday routines, especially after Thursday when the eclipse is over. And of course, it's a great time to keep thinking about what service looks like to you. Especially because moving to the beginning of Virgo means that Mercury is now making a trine to the wounded healer at the very beginning of Taurus, also on Tuesday, just like the sun did last week. So this is still a really great time for learning and teaching and sharing more of those healing skills, especially anything having to do with the body or the land. Maybe you've been wanting to learn more about herbalism or first aid or get involved in environmental activism or disability justice, to name a few examples. All well-starred activities these days in many ways. Wednesday, August 26th is another quiet day in the skies, and you'll have to wait until the next clip to hear about the eclipse.
Star Wars, The Hunger Games, even Harry Potter. All these stories are stories of resistance. And not the limp, half-hearted resistance of the Democratic Party, but real resistance by people standing up against evil. And one of the weirdest things about our world is that we're taught that evil isn't a real thing, that everyone has good and bad and all that kind of thing. But I think of evil as on a continuum. It's an equation. You add up all the works of a person's life and it ends up either negative or positive. There are plenty of people who, at the end of the day, have aligned themselves with evil. And they're in control. And maybe the problem is that we view resistance as something that has to be done with spaceships and swords. But it's something you do every day with your dollar, at the dinner table. It's something that should be an everyday part of your life. Fight back at all times, because we don't have time to waste.
Just trying to do something that, you know, in the lovely era of the 2000s, like where certain words were flying off the handle with no recourse. Like
sort of like a interrogation sort of energy that happens where people are like, is this your first show? Like, bro, no. And if it was, this is a horrible welcome. Like, if this was my first show and I was 15, you just ruined my whole day for being an asshole.
It's pretty easy to look like you're on the right side of political history if you're wearing the right jacket or say fuck Trump or, you know, like Black Flag. And you're like, oh, well, that person's down then, right? And it's like,
God, why do I have to work? I am sexy. I am sexy. Why am I working? What is this?
And now, it is time for your favorite and mine, our weekly delve into my music collection, vinyl. Because why? Because you can't fucking trust these people with our music and with the art that gives our lives meaning. For fuck's sake, please start collecting it, right? Physical, actual records, tapes, cassette tapes, DVDs, CDs, MP3s, literally any way you can to preserve media, because it's all going to go away if they have their way about it, right? This, perhaps call me a conspiracy theorist if you will, but if I were an extremely greedy and evil person who wanted to push AI, wanted to erase the viability of human artistry, well, what I would do is I would take the entire catalog of music, a lot of the collected music of human history that's collected all somewhere, say like a Spotify, for example. I would take it all, I would scrape it into AI, and then I would not allow its use. You can't listen to the actual artists anymore, but you can listen to an AI rendered version, right? Give us an AI version of Korn or an AI version of Billie Holiday, but you can't listen to the real one, because the real one, well, that's traced back to someone, right? Could they do that? They could do it tomorrow. And unfortunately, I think a lot of us would let them do it, because a lot of us, we really haven't learned to fight, have we? We're letting a lot of things rock. But anyway, that's for a different segment. We're going to get right into our album of this week. And that is one, well, you know what? I don't know what you expect from me. And I think if you know me by now, you'll know that you shouldn't expect anything, because I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But this album is William Eyelash herself, my affectionate nickname for Billie Eilish. This album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? It's really genuinely great. I wish that I could be more of a hater and not go with an album that was so popular. But unfortunately, it slaps. It is super well crafted. Here's the inside of it. It's just the lyrics to the songs and the front. And of course, the back. Just the song listing, track listing. And what's interesting about this album is that there's no instruments. I mean, unless you consider, synths and, sure. There is, which is not to denigrate beat making in any way, because that is a super important instrument. However, no classical instruments, no, standard instruments. There's no band. And yet each song has its own flavor. And also a continuum. Billie Eilish's voice is really great, really singular, the way that she sings, the way that she uses it. And she has an unexpectedly huge range in the way that she sings. And because it's an album, she's more the sort of person where you'd think like, oh, this person can't really sing necessarily. Like there's lots of effects and all of that. But no, she can sing. But the thing is that she chooses sometimes to just speak or use her voice in different ways and then have it affected. And then, and using the voice as an instrument itself with all the different things that it can produce, and then using the additional help of production, right? And that becomes its own little instrument in its own way. There's something, and obviously I am not putting her anywhere near the same category as Mike Patton, who, I think is one of the greatest living voice users. I think even he doesn't call himself a singer or vocalist. He's like a vocal artist or something like that. Something to that niche, because that's what he's doing. I mentioned that he voiced the villain, this alien entity in a video game, and they were like, we're going to use effects. And he was like, we don't need them. We don't need them, baby. I'm just going to make that happen with my, he just went right to it. And, it's something that I have learned a lot from and like used to practice my own voice. Anyway, she doesn't go to that extreme, certainly, but she really does use her voice in a lot of different ways. And, she did recently. It's not on this album, but, the James Bond theme song that she did, that's what she really opens up and belts, and you can actually hear her really singing in that, and it's great. There's of course, Bad Guy, the song that everybody knows, and side note, another interesting thing about Billie Eilish is that I don't know if it was her idea or she got some good counsel or whatever, but she did a really great job of intentionally desexualizing herself through dress when she was still a minor. And I feel like, as whether it was prescience or like, again, someone just gave her good counsel, I feel like that's so important in a world that over-sexualizes children, especially girl children, especially young femmes. They're right. Girls, they're not yet women. And by dressing the way that she dressed, and there's some conversation to be had about appropriation and that sort of thing, and like, putting on certain elements of like blackness in that style of dress that are not only valid, but critiques I would probably share. But also in that, the super baggy clothing, the super nondescript way, it became her own signature style. And it was a way of having a style without being overly sexualized when it was simply not fucking appropriate to do so. And yet this world would have done it and I'm sure, honestly, I'm sure people did anyway. You know what I mean? But that is a really interesting thing, I think, about, her arc as a performer, and people are like, oh, now that she's an adult, she's like dressing all differently and like, dressing all sexy sometimes. And it's like, well, she's a grown up now. So yeah, she should do that. And it's weird that she had to desexualize herself when she was a child, because y'all don't know how to act. But I digress. There also is a lot of emotion to the album. And there's lots of, it's fun, it's weird, it's kind of, there's definitely a dark edge to it as well. But it just bumps, there's dance hits, and there's also really sweet ones. Like, I Love You, that it's really sweet. Like, if you listen to that song at the wrong time, you will cry. Yeah, maybe it's what you need. Maybe you need a good cry. Put that song on, have a glass of wine, do what you got to do, right? Have a little weep, as a treat. But it's a beautiful, beautiful song. Really, really great album. And even, speaking of dark, just the cover itself. She's not hiding the creep. Not hiding the creepiness, which honestly I love. Sometimes you gotta remind folks. You gotta remind folks that you're an artist and that you can go a lot of different places. As you know, we around here love the dark and unusual. And for the second album, I'm not going to do an album, but going to point y'all towards something that I secretly, unironically really enjoy, which is the various James Bond soundtracks, which, as I mentioned earlier, Billie is on one of them, does one of them. But if you look throughout now, James Bond as a character, dull, misogynistic, largely pointless, not very redeemable. I would say sorry, but I don't like to lie to you. I am not sorry. But the music, some of the greats have done songs for the James Bond soundtrack, and essentially the discography, the pantheon that has been created by those various soundtracks is really worth looking into. Just the basic theme of James Bond kind of wends its way through all the different incarnations of it. I mean, whether it's Duran Duran, or whether it's Shirley Bassey, or whether it is Tina Turner. Tina Turner's GoldenEye. Stop. If you haven't heard it, please go and listen to it. Go and download it. Perfectly legally, of course, and listen to it because, she reminds you why she is Tina Turner in that song. Adele's Skyfall, she hits it. She absolutely goes for it. Chris Cornell's You Know My Name. Rest in peace to one of the great rock vocalists of all times. You Know My Name is fantastic example both of Chris Cornell's artistry and of just why I actually like this group of songs so much. Really, almost all of them are great. Even the kind of goofy ones. Tom Jones, I think, did Thunderball. Yeah. So good. All of them. And actually, there's a great Mike Patton cover of Thunderball, just to tie it all together, all the different threads that I neurodivergently have weaved together for you today. So, I've given you two things, but one of them is rather a large list of things that you can check out. But as for this particular album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Right? Get into it. And now, for our next segment. say for the sake of argument that COVID is over, as a lot of you seem to think it is. It's not, but let's just say that for the sake of argument. Do you think they're going to tell us if H5N1 decides to go human to human? Do you think they're going to tell us if measles escapes the areas it's in and spreads all across the country? Why are you in a subway? Why are you in a concert with a bunch of people you don't know, breathing in everything that comes out of them? That's gross. It's wild to me that we ever did this before, honestly. But now, I don't get sick from going in public places anymore because I wear a mask. I like not getting sick. Do you like getting sick? I simply don't understand at what point social pressure is more important than your own health. Forget everyone else. Forget the fact that, Fauci told you to forget about the immunocompromised and that, the old and the sick will fall by the wayside. Forget about that for a second. What about you? Do you like being sick more often? Is this something you enjoy? Where are you getting all these sick days from? There is basically no more CDC, basically no more Health and Human Services. It's all gone. RFK is not your friend. The only thing we have left is each other. So a good place to start in building a world that we want to see, whatever else you believe politically, put a mask back on your face when you're going into crowded places. We need you healthy for everything that we have to do if we want to try and have a future. Try it, darlings.
See, if you get far enough in, you can see karma. You can see patterns unfolding, of which this life is only a part of a beautiful mosaic. But in order to do that, you have to have left the gravitational field of time and space. As a matrix, you can't think in time and space. You can't be in your thoughts anymore. Because your thoughts are still in time and space, and you can't get out of time through them. You've got to be outside of that. You've got to be in the place where you see your own childhood, adolescence, birth, death, conception. And not only that one, but that life and that life and that life too. Because baby, this is all about you. Wow!
Okay, let's get into this eclipse. So it's happening Thursday, August 27th at 9:18 p.m. Pacific time. So actually just after midnight on the 28th for you East Coasters. And this is a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. So here's the setup, okay? The moon will move into Pisces that afternoon and will be at about 5 degrees of Pisces during the eclipse. The sun will be opposite the zodiac at 5 degrees of Virgo, right next to Mercury, which makes a conjunction with the sun earlier that day. But all these planets will be square to Uranus in Gemini, which is a great way to make an already intense eclipse even wilder. This is a full moon eclipse, meaning that emotions are already heightened, and this is, in theory, a good time for releasing and recalibrating. But remember, in this house, we don't do big spell work, rituals, manifestations, etc. on an eclipse. It's like trying to use a tsunami to water your garden or something. Just way too much energy for us to handle. It's totally fine to keep up with any small daily or regular spiritual practices that you have, but it's not a time for any deep work. Instead, it's just a time to be really present with whatever's unfolding and whatever emotions are coming up, especially because this is a lunar eclipse, right? Now, the reason this full moon is an eclipse at all is because it's close to the lunar nodes. So the north lunar node is at the end of Aquarius now, close to that moon in the beginning of Pisces, and the south lunar node is at the end of Leo, close to the sun in early Virgo. So essentially, I think this eclipse is kind of like a parting gift, if you will, of this 1.5-year period that just ended where we had the lunar nodes in Virgo and Pisces. Meaning that this is an important moment to integrate the lessons from that time, lest the eclipse forces us to learn them in some not so pleasant ways as it tends to do. So the South Node in Virgo encouraged us to let go of perfectionism, to let go of endless criticism and judgment of ourselves and others, to decondition purity culture and white supremacy, to do away with economic inequality, with servitude and slavery, with the structures of power imbalance that shape our society. Unfortunately, we have collectively not done a great job with that over the last 1.5 years. Arguably, we've gone in the totally wrong direction, right? With an increase in lynchings, with ICE kidnappings and murders, with the Epstein class, the surveillance state, environmental destruction. I mean, the list goes on. So there's a lot to continue fighting for. Everything, in fact. And in order to do that, it's important for us to tap into Pisces energy, where this eclipse is happening and where the north node of the moon just spent the last 1.5 years. This is the sign of collective emotion, of this ocean of grief and rage that we're all swimming in, which is so painful yet powerful. Pisces is about boundlessness and interconnectedness, empathy and spiritual connection, and that dream of the better world that we're trying so hard to build. This eclipse also reminds us that to work together effectively, we need to have compassion for our comrades and ourselves, to allow our organizing efforts to be messy and imperfect, to keep the big picture in mind and not get too stuck in the details as we try to resist. And with Virgo's ruler Mercury conjunct the sun during this eclipse, you can bet your ass all that baggage is coming to the surface now. And Mercury is also the ruler of Gemini, where the planet Uranus is hanging out and forming a square to this eclipse. So that tense aspect increases the risk of sudden shocks and surprises, shaking us up even more during this turbulent time, but it also connects us to the revolutionary goals we're fighting for. Liberation, the freedom to be our authentic selves, to progress into a better future for everyone. And it reminds us of the knowledge we need to share, the connection to our local communities, the adaptability and openness to change that this moment requires of us. This very mercurial eclipse reminds us that the revolution won't just be one big sweeping event. It's long-term growth composed of small actions, continued conversations, and everyday changes. But we need to shed our illusions and stay fiercely grounded in reality while also being connected to the love and the dreams that inspire us in the first place. Now, the next day, Friday, August 28th, the Sun and Mercury will both be at 5.5 degrees of Virgo, forming that exact square to Uranus at 5.5 degrees of Gemini. So that just prolongs the energies of this eclipse, in other words. Then on Saturday, August 29th, the moon will leave Pisces and enter bold, brave Aries. And Sunday, August 30th is another astrologically uneventful day. So that's it for your weekly astrological weather report. I'm Alice Pope. See you next Monday.
People sometimes ask me, oh, are you AMAB or AFAB? And I always tell them, nah, bro, I'm ACAB, assigned chaos at birth. Also, fuck cops.
And that, friends, darlings, ladies, gentlemen, and those too smart to pick one or the other, that will bring us to the end of this episode of the Focused on Infinity Hour, more or less. I want to thank you for being here with us yet again. And I want to remind you that whatever it is that you are doing, and I hope it is a lot, you still need to do more. Right? Black people right now in big 2026 are being lynched in larger and larger numbers. This is probably being done by law enforcement because of how fucking quickly they are rushing to say that these are suicides. Even when someone is hung so high up in a tree that they can't reach them. When they're found with no shoes or with other people's shoes or with it's a story as old as this country. And it's one that y'all have never dealt with properly. So we're still fucking dealing with it now. Everything that has not been swept up by white America is now sloshing all over everyone, including white America. There is no disconnection. There is no separate. There is no other. Everything affects all of us, even when we think it doesn't. There's a little kerfuffle going on even in the black community now about how we need to just tend to our own. And, you know, people like fucking Dr. Umar, don't get me started, saying stuff like, you know, what have the Gazans ever done for us? Besides literally be in constant solidarity with the black community. They had fucking murals of George Floyd. Okay. Also, you simple human. They're under occupation. What the fuck are they supposed to do for us besides stand in solidarity? Hello? Do you hear yourself? Do you know that our cops trained over there with them? Cops from fucking Peoria go over to the IOF to learn their tactics because they're fucking battle tested. Just like the weapons that they use over there and then get to sell for more because they're battle tested. Yeah, the fuck it's all connected. Anything you allow to be done to someone who lives in the same world as you could happen to you if they just change the rules a little. I have no respect for the rules. I have more respect for stability, structure, respect, responsibility. I have more respect for those than a lot of people do. I'm a fucking stick in the mud about some of that shit. But I have no respect for rules, especially ones that are dictated by people who hate you, who would just as soon see you extinguished as help you. People who would put feces all over your lettuce and expect you just to think that's normal cost of doing business. People who would announce that they found a great deal on beef just the same day that they announce and you see pictures or video or hear tell of they're hunting down wild horses. Yeah. Quick shout out, and by shout out, I mean fuck you, to everyone who's ever called me a conspiracy theorist about all the shit that's happening now that I have been talking about for years. There is no price, there's no prize for being the calmest, chillest person in the room when it comes to the fucking world we live in. People think I'm doing too much by continuing to mask and be really fucking stringent about that shit in my life. You know why I do that? Because there are people who can't. Also, because I don't personally want to be more disadvantaged in the harsh world that is coming, that is barreling, that is already here. Really? Because the other thing is, if you think that it's still coming and not here, you're talking from privilege, babes. Right? If little children, 6, 7, 8-year-old children in, some country, in Congo, in fucking Central African Republic, if those little children can get fucking cacao for you for pence on the dollar, not even that. Those little children can work the fucking mines. Artisanal mines. Artisanal, by the way, meaning with no safety standards. No regulations. Artisanal, as in built ad hoc by the people there who aren't being paid enough or given the right tools to actually do the job in a way that is safe for them. Little kids, 8, 9, 10, younger sometimes. If they can work the fucking mines for you to get a cell phone, your fucking kid can wear a mask at school. You can teach them how to do it. You can teach them how to be a good member of society. You can teach them to stand up against peer pressure. I believe in you. You should believe in them, right? Because what choice do we have? They're going to need to learn. They're going to need a little practice with that mask wearing when the wildfires continue and get worse. when we're counting the days with decent air quality as fewer than the ones with. That's coming. But the future's not written. And it's not an inevitability. And I am not a doomer. I'm not saying this because I believe there is no hope. If I believe there was no hope, what would be the point of talking? Why would I say anything? I would be somewhere jacking in heroin or something. I don't fucking know. But I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't be spending time bringing you this information, these words, my art, whatever else it is. If I didn't care and believe there was another option, another way. Because we do have to go through the hard. There's no getting around that at this point. It's baked in. But beyond that, what's beyond that? What's beyond that? What do you see beyond that? And how are you working towards building what is beyond that? It's a habit. It's not a one-time thing. There's no one vote, no one flock camera to cut down, though anyone who happens to be doing that, I did not see you there. And actually, I saw you at my house for tea that day that you were accused of that. Look, every day you can and should be fighting. And you've gotten used to, some of us have gotten used to thinking that our one little action doesn't mean anything. Our one little straw doesn't mean anything. Our attempts to recycle, well, it's all useless, right? And you're not wrong that the systems are so thoroughly corrupted that most of the things that we do to try don't mean but a little drop in the bucket next to what the vulture class is doing, what corporations are doing, yes. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you because it's the right thing to do and because you believe in a better world and you believe in fighting for it, whatever the cost, whatever the odds. And you're not just going to listen to someone telling you it's hopeless. Or you give up. And a lot of you have given up. If that's the case, go ahead and pull a fucking cipher and plug yourself on in to the fucking matrix and be a battery, okay? Just go ahead, upload the entire contents, everything you've written. Just go ahead and let AI take it all. Upload yourself to the fucking Bezos Meta Google multiplex cloud. Go ahead. Go ahead. Or you can imagine a future that is a combination of, fully automated gay space luxury communism and solar punk and indigenous futures and Afro-punk futures, like all of that. It's going to be a combination of all of those things. It's not going to be one thing. I always say I never call myself anything particular other than a liberationist in some circles, because whatever it is that we are going to get to is not going to look like anything that has happened before, because there are so many emergent things happening right now, darlings. It's all so new. It's a confluence of so many things that you couldn't possibly distill it down to one book. I'm sorry, but State and Revolution is not going to tell you the whole story, no matter how good and important it is, right? Much love to you all. Thank you so much for being here. Please do support my work. Go to my Linktree, toss me a Venmo, become a patron on Patreon. I'm actually doing, my new card of the day feature is one in which I'm actually, doing my own read and giving a bit of information or sharing something about each of the cards, and sharing more of my relationship with the tarot, which is fairly extensive and over a period of decades. It's one of the things that quietly informs a lot of the other things that I do and the ways that I show up in these spaces. Thank you, as always, to my excellent partner in crime, Mistrix, And also to our wise and wonderful Worm, our amazing Alice, and to Square Symbols for their excellence as well, to everyone who's ever contributed to this show, and to all of you for being here and watching it and sharing these times with us. It means so much to me that you do, and I hope you'll continue to, and we'll expand our weird little family in all the ways that it appears. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.